having a special celebration for their family today that was also going to help them out in kind of a difficult time. But before we get into that, what's this kilt doing on you anyway?
Well, this year I'm the head of the Royal Archmasons of Nebraska, so they dress me up in all kinds of bling.
Wow, pretty fancy. So
missing the top hat though.
Oh, okay. Well, that was even more scary, I think. But now somebody I'm less scared of is this person here. Who's that?
You know, it's a good thing we got to review the first time. That's my wife, Kate.
That's your wife, your wife. And actually, Kata's mother was a member of this congregation until she passed away a little over a year ago. Phyllis Billman as well. And then you have these three handsome dudes. Who are they?
That's Kyle, and he's right there. Same shirt. And Ian and our oldest one on the right is Travis.
Great. And then you also have a couple other family members who are part of the congregation here. Last slide we'll go for it. There we go. Who are the people behind that little
Oh, they're right there. That's my mom, my dad. The one in the Brave shirt is my youngest son, Isaac. And I saw one other Brave shirt here today, and it's right there, Mr. Christensen. Yeah,
all right, great. And why does Isaac have? Why is he recognized for bravery? What is challenging him in your family?
Currently, he's at the National Institute of Health with my wife getting treatment. He's one of 8 people in the world with what he has, and going through experimental drugs and experimental treatment, trying to get him well. And the school had Brave T-shirts made up and sold little blue bands and to support Isaac and his trip to NIH. And he originally was going to go through a bone marrow and stem cell transplant. And at the 11th hour, they approved an experimental drug for him to try prior to going through. And we're hoping that's the silver bullet. But if not, they'll go right back into the stem cell transplant. And he and my wife will be gone for some time.
Now his condition, actually, he's had it since he was, almost since he was born.
But it started when he was 2 weeks old. We went to a lot of hospitals. We ran out of medicine here in Omaha, which is really hard to do, as most of you know. Ended up at the Mayo Clinic, and the Mayo Clinic we ended up at the National Institute of Health. He's been going there now for 5 years.
This is his 54th trip?
This is his 54th trip flying to Bethesda, Maryland. Not long ago, 2 trips ago, I flew out with him, and an older gentleman looked at me and he said, "My, he certainly seems to fly well." And I said, "Well, he's an experienced traveler." And he looked at him and he said, "Young man, how many times have you been on an airplane?" He said, "Well, this is my 52nd time." I think he'd been on a plane more than this man.
So what are the effects of Campbell's syndrome? What we see when he comes is just this kid who's just got a smile, 999 times out of 1,000.
Hang on just a second. Early on, he had fevers running from between 100 to 105. Transient swelling around his body, red lesions all over his body, and basically it's an inflammatory process with all his joints, with his knees, his hands. It's really actually quite painful. They do what they can to keep him stable. He has an incredible threshold for pain. And oftentimes he won't tell people because he doesn't want to bother them. But he works his way through it, and eventually he bounces back, and he'll be the kid that runs and jumps and plays football and basketball as much as he can, not nearly as much as he wants to. But it's an incredible thing to see the courage and the fortitude of a 7-year-old. You can learn a lot from them when you watch.
Now, as a parent, seeing this happen to your children, I'm sure any of us want it to happen to us more than we want it to happen to a child. And perhaps, how does that make you feel in terms of even your faith? I mean, that there could be a God that would allow a world to have where this can happen.
Well, if I could trade places with him, I would. But I've had ministers, I've had friends, I've had people look at me and say, you just have to be mad as hell about what's going on, and I can tell you I'm not happy about what's going on, but it doesn't make me mad at God. We've been very blessed to have the support and to help people that are members of our congregation, members of our neighborhood, members of the Masonic world, friends, strangers. It's been an incredible journey, and we couldn't do it without our faith support and people behind us. I can't imagine going through this without faith.
So when members of the congregation from the Masonic Lodge and so forth aren't around, and times are hitting you hard, where do you find hope then? I mean, obviously in relationships with people. Anytime that we've had a situation where we just haven't been able to figure out where to go next, it miraculously appears where, the front door is never open. You don't walk up and go through and you say, oh man, everything's better now. But we've found that you walk around the house a little bit, and usually there's a side window open or something you can slip through. It's not necessarily the easy way, but we've had such support, and it's a miraculous thing when you look at it. And the church has been an amazing place of strength for us, and so is our neighborhood and everybody around us. It's been just an incredible experience. One I really don't wish on anybody, but if somebody has to go through it, we're not going to pass it on. We're going to get through it. So, what's very impressive to me, and I know a lot of people who know you all, is that you're beset with it about as hard as it gets. Not as hard as it gets, but it's pretty gone on up that ladder, and yet. And you have to do so much in your life to meet that challenge, and yet you and your whole family seem not defined by that, but by a whole lot of other things that are around that. A whole lot of love, a whole lot of laughter, a whole lot of life.
I try to find something to laugh at every day. Yeah, that's and with Isaac, it's pretty easy to find stuff, and with Kyle back there, trying to ignore me, find something to do.
And you were also seeing in this illness a way of also helping others.
Well, the drug he's currently experimenting with is not FDA approved, and they're hoping this is kind of the magic bullet for him. Before we started this, he was on track for a stem cell or bone marrow transplant, and it was one of those things where any one of you could be the answer to my son's prayers. Unfortunately, nobody in our family was. So when it comes down to it, we're hoping that the awareness with what's going on with him will be the answer to somebody else's prayers. There's an incredible number of people out there that need stem cells or bone marrow transplants to help them cure whatever it is that they have ailing them. And one of you could be the answer to all their hopes and prayers. I'm a member of the registry. If they would call me tomorrow, I would be there in a heartbeat and say, you know, let's get this thing rolling. Let's see if we can be the answer. Somebody out there is a match for my son.
I know you were on Facebook late at night when I was on Facebook. I noticed you were online, and I was asking how Isaac was doing. You mentioned the bone marrow transplant, and I asked you if anybody had been a match. You said no, and I asked if I could get tested. Maybe I could be a match for Isaac. Could I have, if I was, could I have that go to Isaac? And you said no. What did you say about that?
Basically, it was, no, that's not the way it works. You don't get to direct your stem cells or your bone marrow to a specific person. But if you're willing to do it for Isaac, you should be willing to do it for anybody. I truly feel that way. And you know, if you're between 18 and 60, let's get those swabs and let's get the test going and I'll be the answer.
Well, it certainly hit me. As soon as I got that conversation, I registered with the bone marrow registry and I'm going to get my cheek swabbed this afternoon.
And it was terribly difficult, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, that's right. Well, it's a lot, also I have to confess, it's also not so difficult because there's not like this huge excruciating surgery or anything like that. It's a very simple procedure when it comes down to donating marrow.
It is, or even easier as far as stem cells. It's not as bad as you envision it. And I can't emphasize enough that if we have 500 people downstairs getting registered today, one of you will be the answer in a short amount of time for someone. And not only someone's answers, but someone's family.
Yeah. Well, it seems like if your hope were entirely focused on whether Isaac is going to get that silver bullet or not, I'd be very, very concerned for you. And while I do not have a lack of concern for you and your family and for Isaac, it seems that, especially that statement that you're willing to do it for Isaac, you're willing to do it with others, really kind of, to me, talks about a wider source of hope. I can see even God in our discipleship, when we think about Jesus, and Jesus even making things not going well for him, and we think about ourselves as disciples of Jesus and say, well, what would you be willing to do for Jesus? And I can hear God saying, well, if you're willing to do it for Jesus, you should be willing to do it for others. And thank you for joining us to point us towards not only you, but also to many in the world.